Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that inside you there is a flame. This is not just a poetic metaphor. This flame is real. It is your vital energy, the creative force that sustains your life, your health, your creativity, and even your spirituality. But here lies the mystery. This flame that could illuminate your path is often wasted. In the modern world, it drains away in fleeting pleasures, digital distractions, and automatic patterns that leave us empty soon after. Have you ever wondered why, even after immediate satisfaction, a sense of emptiness usually returns, as if nothing has truly been fulfilled? Could it be that sexual energy was not created only for physical pleasure? Could there be a hidden code humanity has forgotten? A power capable of transforming desire into focus, vitality, and expanded awareness? Throughout this video, we will embark on a deep journey. We will talk about neuroscience, spirituality, ancestral traditions, and also the silent pains we all carry. This is not an invitation to deny your sexuality, but to understand that within it lies a secret key to spiritual awakening. If this subject already touches something inside you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share in the comments. What do you believe is the true purpose of sexual energy? Your participation will enrich this community and open new paths of reflection. Today, let us walk together through the hidden mystery of sexual energy. Since childhood, we have been taught to see sexual energy in a limited way, as biological instinct or momentary pleasure. Society has taught us that sex is only physical release, entertainment, or even a currency of power. But what if all of this were just the surface? Sexual energy is, above all, the creative force of life. It is what gave birth to your body, to the cells that multiplied until they formed who you are today. If it is capable of generating life, imagine what else it can create within you when consciously directed. Ancient spiritual traditions always knew about this mystery. In Tantra, Taoism, and even in deeper Christian teachings, sexual energy was not seen as something to repress, but as a portal to higher states of consciousness. It was treated as sacred fire, capable of burning when misused, but of illuminating when understood. Modern neuroscience is beginning to reveal the same truth in a different language. The brain responds to sexual energy with an intense activation of networks linked to motivation, creativity, and memory. This means that when it is not wasted only in immediate gratification, this energy can fuel mental clarity and inner expansion. Perhaps you have felt this without realizing it, that moment when you chose to redirect desire into creation, into art, into deep work, or even into prayer. Suddenly you had more strength, more focus, more light in your eyes. That is the hidden mystery in action. What we call sexual energy is not just a bodily impulse. It is a hidden code of consciousness, a vibrational key that can open both doors of compulsion and portals of transcendence. We live in an era where sexual energy is constantly stimulated but rarely understood. Magazines, social media, ads, music, series, everything seems designed to keep our minds in a state of constant arousal. And in this process, the most powerful force of modern humanity is also the most wasted. Cell biologist Bruce Lipton reminds us that every thought and emotion shapes our biology. When sexual energy is channeled only into quick pleasure, the body responds with cycles of euphoria and exhaustion, creating a pattern of depletion. Instead of nourishing, it empties. Instead of expanding, it imprisons. It is like having a mighty river flowing within us, but using it only to spin small mills of momentary pleasure. The water flows, but it never reaches to irrigate the garden of consciousness. With every careless discharge, we waste fuel that could nourish vitality, creativity, intuition, and even profound spiritual states. This dispersion creates a vicious cycle. The feeling of satisfaction lasts little, soon the emptiness comes, and then we seek more stimuli to fill it. Many do not notice, but this cycle is similar to any other addiction: alcohol, sugar, shopping, always trying to fill an inner void. The ancients warned about this. Taoist masters, for example, compared sexual energy to a precious sap. The more it is wasted, the faster the tree of life withers. But when preserved and redirected, this same sap becomes vital force that sustains body, mind, and spirit. Here lies the crucial point. It is not about repression, but about learning to manage. Sexual energy is like electricity. In the hands of someone who does not understand it, it can cause shocks and burns. But when directed with awareness, it lights up homes, cities, and even the soul. And perhaps that is why so many today feel constantly tired, anxious, and unclear about their purpose. It is not lack of energy, it is excess waste. Why is it that so many people, even after sexual satisfaction, report an uncomfortable silence within themselves? It is as if the body has been satisfied, but the soul remains hungry. This is the dilemma of immediate pleasure. It calms the surface, but does not touch the depth. Neuroscience explains that the human brain is programmed to seek quick rewards. The release of dopamine creates a sense of achievement, but it lasts little. Soon, the emptiness returns, asking for more stimulation. Thus, pleasure becomes a form of anesthesia, a temporary escape from loneliness, existential anguish, or the fear of inner silence. At this point, misunderstood sexual energy becomes distraction. It ceases to be creative force and turns into an escape mechanism, a palliative that masks but does not solve. Neville Goddard used to say that everything we seek outside of ourselves is just a reflection of what we have not yet recognized within. Sex, when used as compensation, becomes exactly that, an attempt to fill internally what can only be found in contact with our own consciousness. The emptiness we feel after immediate pleasure is not a flaw, it is, in fact, a calling. It invites us to look inward, to realize that what is truly missing is not another body, not more stimulus, but presence. Ancient traditions always knew this. In Tantra, for example, pleasure is not denied, but expanded. It is not about filling the void, but about transforming the void itself into fertile space for connection with the divine. Perhaps this is why so many feel imprisoned by endless pursuit, because they confused pleasure with fulfillment. Pleasure is momentary, but fulfillment is born of consciousness. Behind immediate pleasure is a chemical messenger, dopamine. It is responsible for activating the brain's reward circuits, giving us that sensation of excitement, motivation, and achievement. But here's a detail rarely mentioned. Dopamine does not reward only pleasure. It rewards the expectation of pleasure. That is why desire is often more intense than the experience itself. And it is also why, right after satisfaction, fatigue, apathy, and emptiness come. The brain enters a chemical backlash, reducing receptor sensitivity, which drives us to seek stimulation again. Thus, the cycle of self-sabotage is born. Joe Dispenza explains that each repetition strengthens neural connections, like trails in a forest. The more we follow the same path, the more automatic it becomes. If sexuality is associated only with quick release, the brain creates this pattern as its preferred route, making conscious use of this energy more difficult. This process is no different from what happens with other addictions. Excessive consumption of pornography, for example, alters dopamine levels so intensely that it can change the way the brain perceives pleasure, weakening motivation in other areas of life: work, relationships, spirituality. It is as if we are mortgaging our vital energy in exchange for microdoses of satisfaction. Each payment may seem small, but in the long run, the debt is huge. Loss of vitality, lack of focus, emotional apathy, and disconnection from the soul. But here lies the key. If the brain can program itself for the cycle of waste, it can also reprogram itself for transmutation. Neuroplasticity shows us that new trails can be created. By bringing awareness to the impulse, by breathing deeply before acting, by choosing new destinations for this energy, we begin to break the cycle. Dopamine ceases to be an enemy and becomes an ally, no longer limited to immediate pleasure, but guiding us toward greater achievements, creativity, spirituality, expansion of consciousness. We live in a culture that has turned sexuality into merchandise. Movies, advertisements, music, and even social media project the idea that sex equals status, performance, and conquest. It is not about intimacy, connection, or expansion of consciousness. It is about consumption. This cultural myth creates unrealistic expectations, perfect bodies, constant pleasure, endless desire. The result is a cycle of frustration because human reality never matches the media spectacle. Many end up believing something is wrong with themselves, when in fact, the error lies in the narrative they received. Greg Braden speaks about how the collective field of beliefs shapes our individual experiences. If an entire society vibrates in the frequency of superficiality and objectification, it is natural that we absorb it without realizing it. Thus, sexual energy, which could be fuel for creation and transcendence, is reduced to a product for quick consumption. This cultural conditioning distances us from the sacredness of sexuality. Sex ceases to be an act of union and becomes a transaction. It ceases to be a ritual of encounter with the divine and turns into mere entertainment. And in this process, the soul is lost because the body may be satisfied, but the heart remains hungry. The spiritual traditions warned of this danger. Tantra, Taoism, and even Christian teachings spoke of the importance of not profaning the creative power within us. When reduced to consumption, this power becomes a source of alienation. When elevated to consciousness, it becomes a path of awakening. It is like confusing a spark with the sacred fire. The spark of immediate pleasure warms for an instant, but soon dies out. The sacred fire of conscious sexuality, however, illuminates an entire life. Long before modern science, spiritual masters already understood that sexual energy should not be denied nor wasted, but transformed. This art is called transmutation, redirecting the impulse of desire to nourish vitality, focus, and expansion of consciousness. In Tantra, sexual energy is seen as kundalini, a serpent asleep at the base of the spine that, when awakened and consciously guided, rises through the energy centers, chakras, illuminating body, mind, and spirit. It is not about forced abstinence, but about learning to circulate this energy within instead of letting it escape in automatic discharges. In Taoism, they speak of Jing, the vital essence stored in the body. The masters taught that preserving Jing increased longevity, mental clarity, and spiritual power. Through breathing, postures, and meditation, this energy was refined and transformed into creativity and wisdom. These ancestral teachings dialogue with modern science. Joe Dispenza explains that when we resist automatic impulse and choose to elevate our energy instead of dissipating it, the brain releases new neurotransmitters and activates areas linked to clarity, intuition, and expanded perception. It is literally biology responding to spirituality. The practice can begin simply. Observe the impulse without reacting. When sexual energy arises, instead of releasing it immediately, take a deep breath. Bring your attention to the heart. Imagine this force expanding throughout the body. Gradually, you will notice that desire, when neither repressed nor wasted, transforms into focus, presence, and vitality. This is the true alchemy of the human being, transforming instinct into consciousness, desire into creation, raw energy into light. Now we reach the deepest point of this journey. If until now we have spoken of waste, emptiness, dopamine, cultural conditioning, and ancestral traditions, it is time to reveal the hidden code that sexual energy carries. Every form of energy in the universe has a purpose. Electricity moves machines. Solar energy heats and illuminates. Sexual energy is different. It is the only one capable of creating life. That alone makes it the most sacred force inhabiting the human body. But its function is not limited to reproduction. When consciously directed, this energy becomes fuel for spiritual expansion. Neville Goddard said that imagination is the workshop of God. Now imagine what happens when this workshop is fueled by transmuted sexual energy. Ideas gain clarity, intentions gain strength, dreams begin to collapse into reality. It is as if sexual energy were the vibrational brick sustaining the construction of the life you desire. Greg Braden speaks of the coherence between heart and brain. When we unite desire, emotion, and intention, we create an electromagnetic field capable of influencing reality. Sexual energy is the accelerator of this field. It gives power to thought and depth to prayer. That is why so many masters warned, do not waste this force. It is the portal to creativity, healing, and expanded consciousness. Jesus, when speaking of the body as a temple, was also referring to this care. Within us dwells the creative spark, and the way we use this energy defines whether we illuminate the temple or leave it in ruins. The hidden code is simple and powerful. Sexual energy is the link between body, mind, and spirit. If used only in the body, it becomes fleeting pleasure. If ignored by the mind, it becomes compulsion. But when elevated by the spirit, it becomes a path of awakening. Creating the life you have always sought? We have reached the end of this journey, but perhaps the true path is only beginning within you. We spoke about waste, about the emptiness after immediate pleasure, about dopamine and self-sabotage, about the cultural myths that distance us from the sacred, and about the ancestral traditions that already knew of the hidden power of sexual energy. The guiding thread is clear. Sexual energy is not an enemy to be repressed, nor a toy to be consumed. It is a portal, a secret code that, when understood, can transform instinct into consciousness, pleasure into fulfillment, desire into creation. Your body listens to everything your soul whispers, and when you begin to direct this vital force, your biology responds. More focus, more clarity, more vitality. This is the science of spirituality, confirmed by neuroscience and celebrated by ancestral traditions. Now, here is a simple practice for you to try. Next time you feel the awakening of sexual energy, do not fight against it and do not release it automatically. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and bring your attention to the heart. Imagine this energy circulating through your body like a golden light, nourishing every cell. Notice how, in just a few moments, the impulse transforms into presence and vitality. This small exercise is training in transmutation. Over time, you will realize that you are not repressing anything, but refining. You are learning to use the most powerful force you possess as an ally of your consciousness. And I want to leave you with one last question for you to reflect upon, and if you feel like it, share in the comments. Could it be that the life you have always sought was already within you, just waiting for you to learn how to channel your own energy? If this video spoke to your heart, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Together, we are creating a space of awareness, healing, and awakening.